Hey, Bucket Pond family, welcome back to the channel. I'm calling this the very first episode of the Bucket Ponds podcast. Now, it's not a traditional podcast. We're going to do a visual element. We're going to discuss a little bit about what we're doing in the video. We'll also focusing on different avenues of discussion for, topics during the podcast. Now, for today's video, we are going to rebuild our jar aquarium shelf here. This needs to be done. This shelf is rough, and I'm a bit worried about all of the weight that I have on here. So we need to rebuild this. We need to take all the jars down, pull down all of this hacked together material, and then put up a nicer, stronger shelf. There is a window in the background, and the shelf is built right into the window frame. I'm sure that's against the fire code or something like that somewhere, but we're not too worried about that. We have a nice clean jar of water here, and this will be the receptacle for most of our cuttings. I have to pull these jars off the shelf so that we can take it down and rebuild it. But to do that, I need to cut back a lot of the plants back there. As always, we are using our blue gloves. These are to protect the plants and pets inside of the jars. They are not to protect me. I handle a lot of bleach and degreaser and insecticide and things like that in my day job, and I don't want to risk that getting into the jars. So here we have our larger plant scissors. They're a little dirty, but they will do the trick. So we need to cut back a lot of these stems here. And of course, I'm not going to throw them away or compost them. Every time I have to cut my plants, I just replant them. We clone them. The various dayflower plants you've seen on the channel have been cloned so many times. And it's very easy. Just, cut a stem, place that cutting into some nice clean water, and within a week or two, you'll have some roots, and you'll have a brand new dayflower plant. Here's a nice long, 3-foot, 2-foot long piece of dayflower. And this is mostly climbing dayflower, and it will try to latch onto other plants. It will try to intertwine with them and climb up to a higher position, as will the Wedelia. So this is mostly Wedelia and dayflower that we're going to have to cut back today. But if I don't trim it and I don't maintain it, it will try to grow up into the window frame. It'll try to grow outside, which is entertaining, but not the best thing for our situation right now. So I am pulling the wilted leaves from the bottom of the stems, and we're placing those leaves into our flower vase aquarium there. Our snails and worms will happily eat those leaves, break them down, and turn them into fertilizer for more plants. It's sort of an interesting cycle, and it works a lot like fallen leaves in your backyard. Earthworms and isopods will come up and break them down and turn them into nice fertile topsoil. And that's basically what we're doing here. Now, it's normal for the dayflower to wilt a bit on the lower parts of the stem. And I think that's because, as it grows, if it was growing in your backyard, the lower parts of the plant would have to compete with grass and other plants for sunlight. So it's not beneficial for the dayflower to focus its growth on those lower stems, the lower leaves. So it abandons them, and it focuses on the higher parts of the plant for more leaves and, more sunlight. At least that's my theory. It could be something else. It could be a issue with some kind of, missing nutrient or something. But this is how my dayflower has always grown in my jars, and I'm not too worried about it. I actually enjoy harvesting the wilted leaves and using them for other projects. We may even build our own special type of wilted leaf wallstead setup one day. In the far future. But yeah, guys, I want to cut this down. I want to take all these cuttings and use them to, of course, start new projects. But we have to remove these plants so that we can pull these jars off of the shelf and we can rebuild. Now, I'm no carpenter, so my new shelf, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be amazing. And of course, here's a nice 4-foot stem of dayflower. That could be cut down into 4 or 5 cuttings. And we might just do that. I'll put that one to the side for now. But this is Bucket Ponds. I operate on a budget of 0. And so I am reusing and recycling whenever possible, including the lumber that we're going to use to build our new shelf. But I should mention, guys, that I have started a Patreon. Officially, we have a Patreon. You can donate anything. Even $1 helps. Anything helps. There are no big rewards or anything. And it's just for anyone who wants to help support the channel. Of course, I am grateful. I don't expect any big numbers out of there, but I will include the link to Patreon in the description, and feel free to check it out. While we're here, I should also mention the Facebook page, Bucket Ponds blog on Facebook. There I share random ideas and lots of pictures and things, short videos, things like that. I'll make a reel every now and then. I did have a Twitter account, but I just don't like Twitter. You know, anything I posted on there was marked as spam or advertising, and I just didn't feel the need to be on X or on Twitter. So, yeah. We have an Instagram as well, but I just don't maintain it. I don't go on there much. So you can find us on Patreon and on Facebook. But we're getting closer to completion with our plant trimming situation here. We have a very nice neon red piece of Wooddelia of creeping oxeye. It will go red sometimes. I think that has to do with the amount of light that it receives. Not quite sure. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit more. So most of these cuttings are going into the receptacle there, the clean water jar, but also I'm putting a few into the black cow aquariums. I want to do an experiment with them, and I want to see if these plants will grow. I am tongue-tied today, you guys. But I want to see if these plants will grow much more rapidly in the black cow aquariums. I believe they will. But if nothing else, they will help to eat up some of those loose nutrients in the black cow tanks, and will have a slightly cleaner situation there. I don't know how you guys feel about the black cow aquariums. There's a nice piece of Wooddelia. I love them. I'm really intrigued by the black cow material used in a jar. I think that it has real potential there, and we can avoid all those artificial fertilizers and stuff that you can find in potting soils and store-bought materials. But I do have to stop focusing so much on the black cow tanks. I noticed a dip in the numbers on the channel when I was playing with them. So we will include black cow in our future projects. I just won't make it the main focus. You know, it'll just be part of our substrate. But there's our cutting jar there. It looks rough, but that's because they were all growing at different angles and twisting around and stuff. After a week or two, they'll start to reach up, and they'll form roots, and it'll be a nice little jar of water with plants inside. We'll use those plants to start new projects, and yeah, pretty happy about that. So now we can start removing jars from the shelf, and you can see my janky light setup there. Don't worry, you guys. Things are constantly improving here at Bucket Ponds. I have an idea for a really top-notch lighting situation. I just haven't been able to implement it yet. But rebuilding the shelf is like the first step. And now we're just pulling a few jars off the shelf, cleaning things up a bit. This is one of our sealed ecospheres that we built this year using a mason jar. In retrospect, we do need to use larger jars, though I did enjoy building these. I had planned to build like 12 of them, but with these smaller jars, things are much more volatile. Things can go wrong much more quickly than they can in a larger jar. And it's just like a nano aquarium. You know, it's actually harder to maintain a nano tank than it is to maintain a 10-gallon or a 30-gallon aquarium. Bigger is usually better as far as stability goes. But I love all of our sealed ecospheres. This one's really nice. This is the moss that we talk about sometimes. The moss taken from our oasis. And when grown underwater, this moss will grow these long strands, and it'll look a bit like a forest inside. I think it's really cool, and that jar is doing really well. We have another jar here. This one was cooked in that unfortunate heat accident, and this is my most favorite ecosphere right now. We have some ostracods, some copepods. There's a few worms in here, as well as our moss and our water meal, and it's just a very healthy, sealed ecosystem. We'll be able to see that better in the future. Don't consider this an update video. Um, it's really not. We will do an update on these eventually. This is one of the, it's not a black cow tank. This is actually built before that. I believe this was built for bladder snails. And there is a build video for almost everything here on the channel, but this jar is so full of Nutella macroalgae that you cannot see inside of it. So I've never done an update on that one. I don't show you much. Nutella is a freshwater macroalgae that it's amazing. I love it, but it's very hard to work with in a jar. Now, this particular jar was meant to be a sealed ecosystem, but I realized that these lids are not airtight, so I've been opening it and feeding it occasionally. I will have to add some more snails in there, and probably some different plants to help consume those loose nutrients that is allowing that algae to grow. The snails, of course, will help to eat that algae, and we can rehabilitate this tank in the future. But now we're going to look at this big jar in the background here. You've never seen this before. It's been with the channel a long time, and you might consider this the last remnant of our farm aquarium before I moved all that stuff outside to the pool ponds. So this jar is mostly full of Nutella macroalgae, along with some bladderwort and a very strong root system for dayflower and Wedelia. Those roots will always continue to grow. Even when I cut the plants down, those roots are still there, still healthy, and I've harvested maybe 50 cuttings from that jar. No lie, it's very cool, but it's not great for filming. So we have our old drill here, inherited from my uncle, and I am very grateful. And I'm going to use this to disassemble the shelves. We're going to pull these lights down, and we're going to cut back to a finished new shelf here in just a moment. Please keep in mind I'm using the term new very loosely here. It's not going to be what you think, I promise. But here we are. This is my new and improved BucketPonds plant shelf. I did clean the window. I have to clean the outside of it as well and scrape off that sticker there. But we have a much better setup for our lights. We can have a little backlighting here, and that rack up top will allow me to install a permanent, much nicer light system in the future. But the goal here was to improve the structural integrity of our plant shelf, of our jar shelf here, and I've done that. It's much stronger. It needs to be sanded and possibly painted, but I'm not too worried about that. It would have been nice to use new materials, but this is BucketPonds. We do stuff on a budget, which is very low. I did reuse old lumber and some old rusty screws I had laying around and whatnot. I work full time and I barely have enough money for food and just one or two little luxury items. It's not a great situation. But yeah, guys, that's why I set up the Patreon. If you would like to donate even just $1 once a month, that's cool. I'll accept any amount, and maybe we'll do shout outs. Who knows? I am possibly planning on doing like a raffle for my Patreons to maybe send you guys like a BucketPonds t-shirt or something. But don't quote me on that. That's in the future. And with BucketPonds, my ideas take a while to implement. So, don't expect anything like immediately. But yeah, this is our new plant shelf. It looks great. Just a couple still images that you guys can see, so you can see what I see. Blah, blah, blah. But welcome back to the new BucketPonds. Thank you for watching. Please check out our Patreon. Please like and subscribe, drop a comment, and have a great day, guys. I'll have more videos up very soon.